gentlemen, wrestling has more than one royal family. I am my kingdom! I am my kingdom!
Will Ospreay, Sami Callihan, Cody, maybe Seth Rollins, Kofi Kingston. What do all these guys have in common? Along with Sonata, Okada, the usual suspects, they've all been in the running for the Wrestler of the Year. But just lately, maybe since Best of the Super Juniors started, we've gotten a new entry into that game. And here is my buddy Jeff to tell you about him.
Well, I think it might have gone back to his Defiant days. He always kind of put on decent matches in Defiant. He was kind of, it was fun to watch him, and he was kind of a comedy character. Holy shit, I shouldn't have eaten that Carolina Reaper. Pardon me. Stall. Anyway, he put on a decent showing in Defiant, but he was always that kind of comedy character. It wasn't until Defiant folded that I think El Phantasmo really got his footing. And he has, since Best of Super Juniors, well, actually, since he won the junior heavyweight title from David Starr, has been an absolute burning supernova. It's every match he's in seems to be just absolutely amazing. And he continues to prove it in his match at King of Pro Wrestling against Will Ospreay. Those two have a ridiculous chemistry.
You sound like that pepper is burnt your tongue to crisp.
It really has, and it's giving me the hiccups. Holy, I haven't had that kind of reaction to a Reaper in a while. Wow. No, I was growing, all kinds of peppers this year. Reapers, ghost peppers, jalapenos, poblanos, cow horns, and, regular green peppers. And as the season wore on, I was getting to a point where I didn't have enough peppers to do salsa. So instead, I would just dry them out and make them into pepper flakes. And I got a good jar of pepper flakes that'll probably last me through the winter. And every now and then when I make a pizza, I'll, sprinkle some on, and I pretty much put it on everything. So I'm good with Carolina Reapers. I must have gotten way too much of a shake on that one because it gave me the hiccups. My face is on fire. It's like I ate a straight Carolina Reaper.
You weren't even supposed to be having pizza for supper tonight, motherfucker.
Yeah, I was gonna do meatloaf, but I got back late because I worked late. So.
and this has been Kingdom of Culinary.
I was driving back and I looked at that recipe, and I'm like, oh, I can do that. Nah, I'd have to go to the store and get back till 6:30, and you know how it is. It's our busy time of the year. I get the next 3 months of ridiculous busy, and then you get the 3 months after that of ridiculous busy. So
yes, indeed.
It's a rough time right now, and I stayed late, and I'm paying for it now because I just put way too much Reaper powder on that. Oh my God!
And for those of you that are not me or Jeff, just like go into Facebook and look up bacon wrapped meatloaf, but instead of putting in cheddar cheese. Throw in some provolone or some Swiss with that shit.
See, I was thinking actually, pepper jack might be good in that.
It would if my wife could handle pepper jack. So
Yeah, well, I just ate a Carolina Reaper, so I think I can handle it.
yes, but I'm cooking for more than just me. So
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
all right, so
My kid's not here this week, so it's just me I'm cooking for.
yeah, ELP has been awesome. I mean, we talked last week about his amazing match where it was, I think it was last week, where it was the Birds of Prey taking on ELP and Taiji Ishimori. And now,
I watched that match, and I know we kind of discussed it a little bit where you didn't agree with me that he really stole the show. But I went back and I watched that match, and like I said before, I mean, we know what we get out of Ospreay. We know what we get out of Ishimori. We know what we get out of Robbie Eagles. Even though
you're not getting away with that. We don't know what we're getting out of Robbie Eagles yet. We've barely seen the guy. He's barely scratched the surface so far.
I guess you're right. That is a good point because he was hidden with Bullet Club and in a tag team for so long. Now that he's kind of come out of that, he is starting to show himself a little more. So you're right. I'll give you that one. But as far as Ishimori and Ospreay, we know what we're getting. And I just felt like from the heel perspective, and even going back and watching it a second time, that Phantasmo stole that match. He was all over the place. Everywhere you looked, there was El Phantasmo doing something.
Well, you know my philosophy is basically like there's too much great wrestling out there for me to rewatch a match. So.
I can't even get to it. It's gotten to a point now, especially with AEW Weekly and the return of the NWA, that I don't have time to try and watch all the wrestling I want to watch and then have my kids and have this extra stuff that we do with the ECW and the sci-fi stuff, and then my job, which right now I'm probably working 70 hours a week at. It is difficult to find time to watch wrestling, but that one I made a point to go back and watch just because I felt like it was much better than and you had said it's in the running for your match of the year, but I still felt like it was better than even you were giving it credit for. And I wanted to see it again just to make sure.
I'm almost positive it's my tag team match of the year. It's just I want to go back and watch a few matches just to make sure. And
Seeing it a second time, it's hands down mine.
and speaking of there being so much great wrestling to watch, I'm hearing great reviews of last night's Bound for Glory too.
Yeah,
So
I've heard some good stuff about that too, and I can't wait till we can watch it. I know it was one of those things where we were probably going to watch it last night, but we might have to hit it on the replay because so much stuff was going on.
yeah, I'm hoping maybe to watch it like maybe Friday night this coming week, just depending on what I have going on. So
Yeah, I'm the same boat. But that, and we've talked about characters, we've talked about wrestlers of the year, and when you come into a year, you've always got the guys that were last year your top guys. They're always going to be at the top of your list. So we had Matt Jackson, we had Cody, we had obviously Sonata and Okada, we had Sammy Callahan, we had all these guys at
Kenny fucking Omega.
Kenny Omega, all at the top of our list. And while they've had some good performances, Kenny Omega, by the way, this last week, and I didn't mention it on DAD when we did it, but Kenny Omega had probably the best performance I've seen since Wrestle Kingdom. He was
Against Joey Janela?
fired.
Or the tag match?
The tag match against
Okay.
Pac and Moxley.
Well, if you didn't watch AEW Dark when he was against Janela in that street fight, that was a phenomenal performance by both guys in that one too.
All right, I'll watch it after we get done here tonight. Because no, I didn't get a chance to watch Time After Dark. I was too busy with NWA Power, which, by the way, fucking great show from them. And there I go with the language again. If anyone cares, we might have some terrestrial radio in the mix here, and I need to clean up my language so we can be on.
Yeah, well,
Or I'm gonna have to go through and beep this stuff out.
well, we were maybe 5 minutes in the show before I called you a motherfucker, so
Yeah, that's fine. So we both have to clean it up. But we've got some good things working for us that might help us out in the future.
Can I use dumbass?
Yeah, you can use ass. Ass is not one of the 7 deadly. I used to say kick ass all the time when I worked in radio.
Well, we live in a world where the president of the United States uses the F word in public every speech he gives. So I don't know how I don't know if I don't know if like when we use this kind of language if we're being vulgar or being presidential.
The FCC thinks we're being vulgar. That's what we have to worry about. But, and if you ever get a chance, go back and listen to George Carlin from, oh God, it had to have been like 83, 84, where he talks about the seven deadly words. It's one of the best skits or one of the best comedic performances I've ever heard, and he nailed it right on. And he was a former radio guy, so he knows all about it.
Yes, the skit is actually called "The Seven Words You Can't Say on Radio."
Oh, it's yeah. What was the thing? Oh, seven deadly sins. Okay.
Yeah,
Different thing altogether.
different thing altogether. So yeah, back on track with NWA Power. Yeah, that was an excellent show again. I know you didn't care for as much as last week as I did, but I really enjoy what they're doing so far.
Before we get into NWA Power, and I really enjoyed this week's episode too. I do want to touch a little more on Phantasm.
Okay.
Him and Osprey have such a ridiculous chemistry together. I felt like Phantasmo's performance at King of Pro Wrestling was spot on and such a great character development spot that he just felt like he was hitting on all cylinders. He's as athletic as Osprey. They seem to time their spots perfectly, so it's almost like he's the new Marty Scurll to Osprey, where they seem to just whatever they do clicks. And the movesets that they have, the fact that they're so equally matched the way that they are in his character performance, he is definitely in my conversation right now for Wrestler of the Year. And up until a month ago, I thought Will Ospreay was hands down my favorite. And Will Ospreay was not a guy at the beginning of the year that I would have said, oh yeah, he's going to be my Wrestler of the Year. So now I have 2-3 guys, and out of my top guys, the only guy that I really thought was going to be there was Jay White. I didn't think Matt Taven would be there. I didn't think Ospreay would be there. I sure as hell didn't think El Phantasmo would be there. But these are the guys that have impressed me the most this year as far as consistency over the last length of time. And El Phantasmo, while he didn't have the greatest matches in the beginning of the year with Defiant, he had some great matches in Rev Pro. He had some great matches in Progress, and he has been on fire in JPW. Absolutely on fire.
I still think it's going to take a monster effort to knock Will Ospreay off my ledge because even with that from ELP, Ospreay's been doing it on the biggest stage basically all year,
Right.
and in NJPW a lot of times when you like run through the best of the Super Juniors, there's a great performance and you kind of forget about it as the year progresses because there's there's Dominion, and then there's King of Pro Wrestling, and there's the G1 Climax, and so it tends to where things kind of balance out. But I think the fact that Ospreay was in both of the big tournaments of the year, has was in the best of the Super Juniors and the Super J Cup, and has had these great tag team matches. I mean, it's tough for me to say that I can put ELP ahead of Ospreay. In fact, I know I can't. But it doesn't mean he doesn't deserve to be in that running to be mentioned.
And that's what I'm saying. As of right now, Ospreay is still. And who would have thought coming into the year that Ospreay would be our guy at the end of the year? I didn't. I mean, I knew he was good. I knew he could put on performances. But when we had all the great performances we had last year, there's no way that I would have picked Ospreay as being my Wrestler of the Year at this point in the year, and right now he's still my front runner. And this match against ELP kind of proved it. But I seriously think ELP is in the conversation at this point.
Yeah,
Just with the run he has had in the last 3 or 4 months.
I think that we probably would have thought that Will Ospreay would be in the running of the year in this running next year. Because he was going through that body change last year. He was still coming into his own to start this year.
Injuries last year too.
He
So many injuries last year.
he did, and so I think I think the prevailing thought in those of us that rate NJPW critically would be that he still had to grow into that new body style of his. He still had to find a way to be strong enough not to have these kind of injuries. and he's been able to do all of that while still putting on, star caliber performances every time he's out there. Um,
Exactly.
Now Taven is an interesting case because while I agree with you, I also was sat there thinking today, like, if there's so much great wrestling out there, that where am I going to fit Ring of Honor into it?
Well,
It's
and that's just it. And I was thinking about that too. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but Taven to me has had some great performances. I thought his match against Jeff Cobb was one of the better matches I've seen of this year. I thought that the ladder match with him and Skrull and Lethal at Madison Square Garden was amazing. He had some duds, and it's not his fault. It's not his fault that they made him go with Lethal for 60 minutes.
eh,
Because
well,
had they
well,
stopped that had he won that match at the 22-minute mark like you and I thought he should have,
hmm
that would have been a match of the year candidate.
no, I'm not saying anything about it against his performance necessarily. It's more like the overall feeling. Like I'm not necessarily going to watch a Ring of Honor event just because Matt Taven's wrestling on it. And I would say that his match against Alex Shelley was just as good as anything else in Ring of Honor this entire year. But the thing is that like Osprey, like I'll watch a match just because Osprey's in it. I'll watch a match just because Cody's in it. I'm not necessarily sure that I would do the same thing for Taven right now, or that I would devote the 3 hours. And it sucks because Ring of Honor has been one of my favorite promotions, for years. But it's still like it's going to get lost in the shuffle right now because there's AEW, Impact has been doing so well, MLW's been doing so well, and there's NXT out there and the NWA. I just don't have time to fit Ring of Honor in right now unless it's one of their big four pay-per-views.
And the fact that Ring of Honor has not been that good kind of lends us to that. And it's sad because, like I said, there's been some great performances by Taven, Jeff Cobb, Shane Taylor is one of your guys.
I don't think they've been bad. What I think it is just simply there's been no pizzazz to it. I mean, ever since they lost the Elite and SCU, there's been like no pizzazz to them really.
That and
They,
that's
they, they I mean, they tried with Villain Enterprises, and they tried to make uh shit, I can't even think of the name of the stable, but they tried to make that a thing.
oh heart whatever
Lifeblood. They tried to make Lifeblood a thing, but it just didn't work. And as much as I enjoy the Kingdom, as much as I enjoy Taven, as much as I enjoy the Varsity Bruiser and Brawler Malonis, as much as I enjoy Shane Taylor, there's just not anything there to really hook me into watching that on a regular basis
and
anymore.
I'm right there with you. Like all on the last couple of shows that were like their standalone specials or whatever, I've kind of picked and choose my matches. Of course, Briscoes versus God was one I had to watch. Briscoes and what are they calling them? Don't they have a name yet, or are they still just Bruiser Malonis and Pierce the
I
Bruiser?
couldn't, I couldn't, yeah, I couldn't think of their name. That's why.
But
Yeah,
but they, I mean, fun matches. I love every chance I get to see.
they're the bouncers.
Okay, that's what it is. Yeah, and I love every chance that I get to see Marty Skrull. I love every chance I get to see Taven and the Kingdom and Haskins. And as much as I hate to admit it, Hot Sauce Tracy Williams I enjoy a lot. And then of course Bandito. So there's that Dragon Lethal is there as well. So they've got talent. They're just not using them right. This whole Lifeblood angle was kind of fun in the beginning. It had potential, but when David Finlay got hurt, and then Juice just was like, you know what, fuck you guys, I'm going back to NJPW, and then Tennille leaves. Now we're left with the three most explosive members, probably the best members on it, but the angle kind of went nowhere.
It did.
And you've got that, and yeah, the flip heel turn was fun, and I like the way they're doing it. But had Villain Enterprise been an actual heel stable, it would have made more sense. The fact that people cheer Brody King and PCO and Marty Skrull the way they do, flip turning heel and joining them, kind of made no sense.
Yeah, and that's why I'm wondering if it was made to set up so that Villain Enterprise can continue with with a new leader when Marty's gone or something. But at the same time, I've been thinking about this. Um, it's it's kind of crazy. I do have other things in my life to think about. I promise you. But I've been thinking about the fact that like Marty Skrull, I cannot see that he would fit into AEW right now. I just can't.
I can't see where he would go because a guy of his stature needs to have a bigger splash than he would at this point. And they're still trying to figure out who's the main event, who's the mid card, who's the, and they're kind of forcing main eventers down our throat. They're kind of pushing this guy as, oh, you've got to love him because of what he's done in the past. I don't want to see Marty do that. I want to see Marty come in and make a splash, and right now I don't think he would.
Right, and there's that, but there's also the fact that it seemed they were setting up the whole Marty is all my friends are dead thing. Like Marty's like really pissed off with the elite and all that stuff, but where would that even fit now with the fact that there's already a stable out there for the elite to feud with. I just don't see where they could bring him in and make a major impact like you're saying, because if they brought him in at this point and he was still mad at the elite and all that jazz, then wouldn't he just be like wrapped into Chris Jericho's stable? And really, who wants to see that?
But was he ever really mad at the elite?
Well, he was doing that "all my friends are dead" thing.
Yeah, but it was all in jest too. It wasn't like he didn't go out there and trash them. He didn't go out there and talk about how his friends let him down, so he had to bring in new ones. He just said, hey, my friends are gone. I made some new ones. Here they are.
Well, maybe he should have. I don't know.
And when you look at the "all my friends are dead" thing, that could imply Brody King and PCO, because PCO is considered dead. There were so many connotations to it, and the fact that he didn't do a legit heel turn, he just ran with his face turn, and then brought in two guys that the internet loved at the time. It was hard to make him a heel. It truly was.
Do you even know what the word connotations actually means? Because I mean, you pretty much use it appropriately, and I'm just shocked.
Dude, I have a genius level IQ. I'm not kidding. I really do.
And yet you talk about this silly fake fighting shit with me every single goddamn week.
Yeah, because the Mensa was a little too expensive for me. No, I'm borderline. I couldn't get in the Mensa because I'm about 5 points too low.
That's fascinating. I had no idea.
The funny thing is, my kid could.
Well, that's why you retain everything.
Yeah, I semi-photographic memory. But the funniest part is, my kid, if he were to do an IQ test right now and he's 16, would probably qualify for Mensa. He is smarter than I am. And I'm talking about the 16-year-old, not the 4-year-old.
Well, the 14, the 4-year-old's probably smarter than you too. So.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. He's actually funnier than I am, so there's that. My 16-year-old, and this is one of the few moments in my life where I'll actually brag, but my 16-year-old is a legit genius. He's been running his robotics squad since 8th grade. High school robotics since 8th grade.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a frickin' genius. He really is. He makes me look like a fucking child.
Yeah. Well, actually, hopefully I'll actually get to meet him one of these days. So.
Oh, I'm sure you will. I'm trying to get him to be up here for Royal Rumble.
Awesome. So.
And of course, we're doing that again this year because we are doing that every year for your brother.
Well, hopefully it works out better this year than it did last year.
Well, we got rid of the one major problem with last year's.
That
has to be better.
That is very true.
Anyway, back to actual wrestling because I'm sure they don't give a shit about all this.
Yeah, and remember, there's people I'm not allowed to bring to your house.
That is true. Hey, maybe I can bring the other one as my date and it'll work out.
Work out how?
I don't know, but I realized what I'd said about halfway through and I was like, okay, I should shut up.
Well, the funniest part is nobody else knows what the fuck we're talking about.
Exactly. This is called inside jokes, people.
You cannot even hear these on Patreon.
Yeah, you get these for free. Yeah, we're not talking about this on Patreon.
Yeah.
We should, speaking of which, we got to discuss, we'll discuss it off here, but we got to discuss our top tier there.
Okay. Works for me. So another thing I'm going to talk about with NJPW, and I knew it was going to happen, and we all knew it was going to happen.
Can you filibuster? My Alexa just kind of went crazy.
I think I was about to filibuster. So.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So, one thing that we all expected, Jeff and I did, I'm sure you guys did, that are following NJPW, is for Sonata and Okada to have another great match, and for Sonata to again fall to Okada. And it's disappointing. At this point, I knew it was going to happen. I can't say the result was wrong, because obviously at this point, if you're going into Wrestle Kingdom, you're not going to enter it with Sonata as your top champion, because he just is not in that spot, and he's never been booked to that spot. But what's disappointing about it is simply the fact that if you don't, once in a while they'll do like a trial run with somebody and give them a quick run with the belt. They did that with Jay White earlier this year, which Jeff and I thought was a terrible move to just make it be a trial run. They did it with Naito a couple of years ago, right before Dominion, and it's just kind of crazy that's kind of the spot that that they're in with these guys. But I mean, it makes sense to give them a shot, give them a little bit taste of the championship, and then see how they can do like in a big spot later on. But it's just so, I mean, the fact that Sonata has never even had that sniff, is a bit disappointing. But it also made going into that match against Okada that he wasn't going to leave with a championship. And of course, it was another competitive match, and of course, again, Rainmaker and Sonata loses. But what was intriguing though about it was simply the fact that when the match ended, Okada said, "Let's do it again in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom." So that's your top guy in the company giving an endorsement to a guy who, right after who during the G1 he said is his arch rival. So, it was probably, it was kind of taken as a backhanded comment, kind of maybe even a slap in the face, considering the fact that Sonata had never beaten Okada to that point. But now here we are. He beats him in the G1. He has another outstanding match with him here at King of Pro Wrestling after barely losing to him in the finals of the best of the what the hell is it called? New Japan Cup. And now we have the top guy in the company, the face of the company, saying, "Let's do it again at Wrestle Kingdom." So, while again I'm disappointed in the fact that Sonata lost, it had to be expected, because you weren't just going to put him in that spot at Wrestle Kingdom with very little build-up. But it does give me some hope that maybe in the future he's going to get the spot that we all want him to get.
Well, now he has an opportunity. We still have 2 months. We still have, 2 big shows coming up before Wrestle Kingdom? Well, semi-big shows.
I don't think so. I think we're set now.
Well, there's Tag League.
Oh, yeah, Tag League, sure.
And isn't there one other one? I thought there was one other halfway decent show.
Well, I know they're doing like a Super Junior Tag League. But
basically what I'm getting to is they have time to set up a Sonata versus Ibushi match, and maybe it comes in a draw or something like that, and we end up with a 3-way. We've never had a 3-way for the heavyweight title at Wrestle Kingdom. It's something interesting. It could get a new player into the game. Because from what I've been seeing recently, I'm not 100% sure that they are sold on Kota Ibushi. I'm just not.
I would be much more interested, at this point because I don't think Sonata's going to leave this Wrestle Kingdom with the championship, regardless of what happens there.
No,
So so so
have him pull off a Kenny Omega, where he goes in and puts just this ridiculous showing on, so he gets the next couple of title shots.
what I was going to say is that he also beat um, Zack Sabre Jr. in the G1, and Sabre has the British Heavyweight Championship back. So what I'd like to see is because I really don't want to see a third straight match where he's wrestling for the tag titles there. I'd love to see him finally get an opportunity at a singles championship of some kind, even if it's not necessarily a New Japan actual championship. But if he were to wrestle and defeat Zack Sabre Jr. for the British Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Kingdom, that'd be a nice step along the way.
Yeah, it actually would be. And but I do like you said, I did. I'm a glutton for punishment, so I kind of fast forwarded. I watched that junior heavyweight belt because I knew that was going to be a great match, and I had to watch that.
Hmm.
But a couple of the other bigger matches, I did just kind of jump to the ending, and I caught that speech by Okada, and I liked it just like you did. I thought it was a great way to finally get Okada over.
Sonata.
Sonata over.
Yeah.
And I love the way they did it. I love the way that he brings out the best in everyone when he's in the ring with them, and that's it's a trait that very few wrestlers have. Bret Hart had it. There was times when Savage had it, and Cena ironically had it too. And I know how much you hate John Cena, but he was a guy that could always bring out the best in everyone, and I feel that way about Okada too. And for him to not only make Sonata, and it's not all just he made Sonata, it's also the fact that Sonata works his ass off and is a damn good wrestler. But the two of them together, when you're going up against the champ and the champ makes you look that good, it's almost impossible to not reach that top level. And I felt like he has done that, and with the speech afterwards, really kind of pushed him further, and now he just needs to capitalize on it. Now, without the fact that they're going to throw him back into a tag team like they have the last few times, I think he can.
I hope so. I really do.
I do too, because I really like Sonata. He's been one of my favorites for years.
And I think they've done a pretty nice job this year in terms of letting both Sonata and Evil have their moments. Evil just faced Ibushi for the briefcase. And yes, there's a briefcase again after Kenta destroyed it. But and then also we saw Sonata have his spots this year too. I mean we all know how much I hated what happened to him at the G1 Climax this year. But at the same time, I mean it was a bit of a character builder for him, and it's hard to put a price on that kind of, what am I trying to say? That kind of basically. I mean, he was the underdog there, but he still got the win over Okada. So it wasn't all bad for Sonata, and now I think that if this coming year, like he beats Sabre Jr. for that British Heavyweight Championship, holds it for a while. Maybe he gets a shot at the Intercontinental Championship, holds that for a while. Then I think he's really on his way up, and I think having that endorsement by the top guy in the company, saying let's face each other at Wrestle Kingdom, I think that's a clear sign that they're finally going to do something with him.
Well, and you've been so down on the way they treat him the last couple of years, because it felt like they were treating him like they treated Naito. But
also it's also though because I really like when there's fresh opponents and fresh booking, and I really don't feel that they've been doing that a lot, and it's hard to blame them because their business is up so much when Okada's the champ. But at the same time, being an American New Japan fan, it's the same kind of stuff I saw with Cena for so many years, or Hogan for years before that, or Flair for years before that, where it just gets stale to me.
Yeah,
And I
and I get that.
and
I truly get that.
and I'd rather have new stars come up, whether it's guys that I love or not. I still rather have new guys come up, and to me it gets boring when the same guy is winning all the time, even when he does have fresh opponents. So, but yes, if anybody's going to step up, I want it to be my boy.
Right. And I'm happy it is. I mean, we thought that Okada or that Omega making that step last year was that shiny moment, and then Omega leaves.
Right.
I think now it's time for Sonata to make that step that Omega should have been.
Yeah, you're not going to get an argument from me on that. So if you're looking for one, I just disappointed you.
When have I ever looked for one? I want you to agree with me. I'm right all the time. Just saying.
The other thing is that I think New Japan crowds are very interesting, compared to American crowds, because the entire show, I shouldn't say the entire show, but the entire match, you have the crowd chanting for Sonata, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they want Sonata to win. It just means that they're applauding his effort. I think that they'd be happy to see a title change, but I think at the same time they respect the Rainmaker so much that I think they're just kind of they want to show how much they're respecting what Sonata's bringing. And I love that about the New Japan crowds, that even if they're not necessarily wanting a guy to win, they're still out there chanting for that person because of the effort they're putting forth.
And it's funny because you said the same thing you hated about American crowds like 4 months ago. You said that you hate when they cheer for both guys because one guy's supposed to be a heel and one guy's supposed to be a face, and that's the way it should be.
But in New Japan, there just aren't necessarily. There's a few heel characters, granted.
Very few.
But
Suzuki going, is there really?
but how is right, and well, Bullet Club too. But how is but in Sonata versus Okada, who's the heel?
That is a good point.
What
You've got both LIJ and Chaos are face factions.
right.
I mean, LIJ tries to be a heel, but reality is they're not.
No, they're not. And really, what I was saying has nothing to do with with heel versus face. It's or like dueling chants or shit like that. It's simply the fact that I love that they respect effort.
And he continually gives.
Right. Every time out. And he's changed his look, he's changed his attitude, he's changed everything else. So, I think at this point, he's just like, he's like maybe like a couple of things away from finally getting that spot. And that makes me super happy.
Oh, I hope so. I really do hope so. I hope that this is, even if he doesn't make it into the main event at Wrestle Kingdom, this endorsement kind of puts him there. And I hope he does finally win the New Japan Cup next year. Did he win it 2 years ago?
No, he's never won the New Japan Cup.
So it'd be nice to finally get him over that point where, holy crap, another Reaper.
What the hell did you do that for?
I was hungry. And I put it on the entire pizza.
Dumbass. All right. You said I could call you dumbass, so there you go.
Well, yeah, we can do that one.
Okay. Wow, we're almost an hour into the show. Look at that.
Are we really? We haven't gotten anywhere yet?
That is correct. And we're trying to keep these ones shorter, so it may not work out this week.
Well, I doubt we're going to go another hour.
Okay.
Because, I mean, and I haven't seen that full match yet, so I definitely want to go back and watch it. I just kind of fast forwarded the aftermath, just because I was so far behind this week. But
Right.
And a lot of that had to do with kids and other things going on. Fucking job that I have to work ridiculous hours.
Yes. Well, some of it has to do with the fact you're a slacker too.
Well, yeah, there's that. I can't deny that. But going on to NXT,
Be, be,
That said,
before you say something about NXT, can I say something about NXT?
well, I'm getting there
All
because
right.
I only watched the Tommaso Ciampa and then the Dunn versus Priest. And by the way, I like this Punishment Martinez. I know when we first saw him come out, we were kind of like, eh, but I really like the character he's got. Stupid peppers.
Well, as far as I know, Punishment Martinez has only had one match ever on NXT, and then he lost.
Yeah, he got his ass kicked.
Yeah.
And now he came out as Damian Priest, and this Damian Priest character, I really like. And he has, I mean, he always had an aura in Ring of Honor where he was like, he felt like he was beyond where they were pushing him.
Yep.
But he walked out against Pete Dunne, and as he's walking out to the ring, I'm like, that dude's a main eventer. There was something about his character, the way that he portrayed himself, the way that he walked to the ring, where it just screamed main eventer. So it was like, we know Pete Dunne. I mean, Pete Dunne is probably outside of Ciampa and maybe even ahead of Ciampa. Pete Dunne is my favorite NXT wrestler. Might be my favorite WWE wrestler. And the fact that Punishment Martinez, or I'm sorry, Damian Priest, came out and was able to be on that level with him just from his entrance speaks volumes to the guy, the charisma that he has.
I had not even considered that, but yeah, that's very true. So NXT, um, you know, I've been listening to Busted Open.
Okay, you're an addict. We need to cut you off.
And Bully Ray has been talking about how much more polished, or how the better wrestling product between AEW and NXT is actually NXT, but that because of the entertainment value and because of the size of the crowds, there's kind of smoke and mirrors that makes you think that AEW is better.
No,
And
he's insane.
And what I would say is that NXT has become too polished. You know, NXT when I watch guys like uh, Dominic Dijakovic
Yeah.
and Keith Lee face each other, or I watch Ciampa versus Garza, or I watch the women fight, other than Io Shirai and Shayna Baszler, or I watch even the main event with Pete Dunne versus Damian Priest. There's just too much polish to it. It looks too choreographed. You know, I just don't feel like it's the best pro wrestling product out there because I mean, it may be that you know they're the most technically expert at it. It might be that they have the best timing down. But when it's completely flawless like that, it's also not real. And so I'm watching this and I'm like, I can see where you're coming from a technical standpoint, Bully. But from an actual, you know, standpoint where for me to have feeling and heart towards it, it's AEW all the way because NXT feels canned to me, even when it's live. And the ending of the show to me is just another step towards that, where it was the usual thing you'll see on a WWE programming, where you know like one guy, like you know one guy is cheated and he's cheering and he's walking backwards to the back, and the other guy is just like waking up and he's crawling towards the edge of the ring and he's just looking up like, what you just did to me, and you don't and you don't see this in any other promotion. It's a clearly WWE faux cinematic type of event,
Yep.
and it's something that you know it completely turned me off when I saw.
And that's kind of the same thing I was thinking too. And I'm glad because you told me a couple days ago that it had such a WWE ending, and I'm watching it going, okay, where's this WWE ending? And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, I hope that's what he's talking about. Because you're right. It's the only place that does that, and they do it in every. I mean, I've seen it a couple times in Ring of Honor. I've seen it a couple times in NJPW, but so rarely that it actually has some, you know, gusto behind it. It happens in 6 out of 7 matches in any WWE product.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the way, if you asked me a way to describe the ending of a Raw, that's how I would describe it to you.
Right, exactly. And that's one of my biggest complaints about Raw is that every single Raw it seems like the heel is standing above the face, and while the face is looking back at him like, oh my God, what'd you just do? And it's like you don't get that in any other promotion. Other promotions you get beatdowns and you get like last week in episode 1 of Power, we saw Nick Aldis just say, you know what? To hell with this. Don't interview me. Give Tim Storm his moment. You got Tim Storm who just lost, who lost to the heel and is standing in the middle of the ring getting his applause. It was the kind of wrestling that I want to see because not everything needs to be bad guy versus good guy.
No.
It just doesn't need to be. And you and I have been saying that for, Jesus, how long have we been doing this show? 5 years?
Off and on, yeah.
Yeah, and we've been saying it since day one. Enough with the heel versus face. It doesn't always have to be good guy versus bad guy. Let's just let people go out there and fight and be people.
Yeah, I mean, we've got, how many people do you know in your life that are either a good guy or a bad guy? I mean, we all,
A couple of good guys.
you know,
And I'm clearly a bad guy. So
my point is that we all have shades of gray. We're all
exactly.
we're all complicated. We're all people. There's nobody out there that is all good or all bad. We're all complicated. We all have things going on in our lives. We all have our own motives, and who's who's a great guy to you might be a bad guy to me. You know,
Exactly.
and so it's just the fact that we have to have this kind of separation and yeah, it's fiction. I realize that. And they're trying to tell stories. I realize that as well. But the great thing about when wrestling is booked appropriately, at least the way that you and I consider appropriate, none of that shit matters.
Right.
I mean, and I'll give you an example of that. And I mentioned this organization earlier, but to me, over the course of the last year or two, the two best promotions in professional wrestling have been MLW
Mm.
and Impact. Because
And I can't disagree with Impact, although if NWA continues to put on shows like this, they're going to take that spot. They're going to be up in that era too.
definitely could be, but the thing that separates out MLW and Impact is that while they may have they may have some baby faces and some heels, most of the time guys are just reacting the way you would expect a person to react. And let's take let's take a minor player to this point in Impact, for instance. Let's take Kira Hogan, the girl on fire.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
so she um, wasn't getting anywhere playing by the rules, right? She was losing matches. She was having strong performances, but no actual results as far as winning matches. So she decides to just start taking shortcuts. At the same time, her quote unquote friend Madison Rain is encouraging her to do this, but she's not willing to just fall in line with Madison Rain because Madison Rain tells her that she needs to fall in line. She is doing what she needs to do to get by, to survive, to be a success. And that's what a person does. You know, and
And
and, and, and,
I
and,
see
and
more
when
than that.
and when you have a character that's reacting like an actual person, you have a much better product than you do if you just have people that are written um, for a certain angle or certain anything else, because then that character is a living, breathing person, and they almost write themselves.
Right.
And I'm just using Kira Hogan just because it's such a minor part of Impact, but at the same time, it's been profound.
And it's been a great character performance. You got the same thing out of Jake Christ.
Yeah,
Jake Christ is the same way, where he is, and he's one of those guys where I don't want to say he's a tweener or a heel or even a face. He is somewhere in between all of them, which is hard to admit when you're talking about a tweener. But he does not fall into any category. He's beloved by the crowds, but tries to get himself over as a heel when he needs to. When he doesn't need to, he plays the face. And he's just been stellar in just being. Would you call him a lunatic?
I would call him disturbed.
Very disturbed. Very disturbed. But he's another one of those guys, a lot like Kira Hogan, who has developed and not just been. I mean, yeah, he was under the tutelage of Sami Callihan, and we all know how evil Sami is portrayed in Impact. But he's also kind of gone outside of the box and just done his own thing at the same time. It's another great character, a lot like Kira Hogan, where it's just another great character performance.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably spend an entire episode talking about their character performances in Impact, and that's the point. The point is that they go out there and they put this shit together. They don't just say, okay, so we need a heel for this role, we need a babyface for this role. These characters are living, breathing people that react the way that you expect a living, breathing person to react. And exactly. I mean, let's and Jake Crist was a great example because here's a guy that for a year was the mini draw. He would go out there, he would do it. He would mimic anything Sami Callihan did.
Which, by the way, was some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen.
He would listen. Go ahead.
When he was doing the, standing behind Sami and mimicking his speech or whatever his promo, whatever he was doing, some of the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Well, and also saving his brother's head because Sami told him to.
Right. Exactly.
And it was all like, here's a guy that's nothing but a devoted follower to Sami Callihan, but now, while he's still, is a member of that stable, he's now to the point where he's his own man. He's the golden draw, and he's the X Division champion, or at least he was before last night. I have no idea what happened last night. But the point is, he's evolved to the point where he's no longer just a devoted follower of Callihan. He's his own man, and that is. And that's just something that when you have a character that's written that well, and an actor, and then you as the performer knows that character so well, it's easy to have a believable evolution from a lackey to being a guy that could even be a leading man.
Was Ciampa our breakout guy of the year last year?
I believe so. Yeah.
Right now, Jake Crist is mine, and there's nobody even close. You can give a little bit of love maybe to Jacob Fatu, but I don't think that even Jacob Fatu has had as strong a year as Jake Crist has. As far as character development is concerned.
I'm just going to say that you've been talking about a breakup star for a lot of the show, so you might have to reevaluate that opinion.
Well, no, I don't want to. I'm trying to. He's a different. He's in a different category than me.
Okay.
I think he's beyond that breakout star role. I think he's an actual main eventer, or could be in that wrestler of the year, character of the year thing.
Well, he could be, but my point is simply that breakout should mean he kind of came out of nowhere, and that's what ELP did this year.
But see, for me, he didn't come out of nowhere because I've been watching him, since the middle of last year. I guess I kind of saw the star quality in him, even though he was this ridiculous comedy character. He still had skills. Where Jake Crist for the last couple of years, I mean, yeah, granted they won the tag belts, and before Sami they were somewhat, important, and then Sami comes in, they became more important. But once Callihan hit the stage, he became a bit player. ELP has never had that moment where he's been a bit player. And I think maybe that might be why, even in Defiant, when he was the comedy character, he was still going out there putting on stellar matches and being that top guy. Jake Crist was never there until he really transformed himself between the mini draw to the medium draw to the golden draw like he has throughout the year.
Yeah, I can see that. I just think that if it were me, I'm just saying that's where I personally would probably put
ELP.
ELP rather than being my wrestler of the year being my wrestler of the year. He probably fit. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't fit into both. I'm just saying that I think he has a stronger case for breakout performer of the year than he does for wrestler of the year.
Another guy that and this is hard to say because I've liked him for so long, but I really believe Roderick Strong is a breakout candidate of the year too. I mean, yeah, they kind of made him look weak when he beat Velveteen Dream, but every match he does is just astounding. The way that he tells stories, and it's so much better than he was when he was that ridiculous generic babyface character. And I know he's been a heel now for about a year and a half, but he has had a strong year. Pun intended.
Yeah, I think a guy, you talked about earlier about how guys that we wouldn't have expected to be in the running for wrestler of the year, but I think a guy that I think we would have expected to be in the running for wrestler of the year, who's taken a step back this year, it is somebody that actually, Bully Ray had kind of mentioned how he's taken a step back, and you had mentioned it actually a couple of shows ago, and that's Velveteen Dream. I think
I don't think it's just him. I think it's a lot of the NXT roster. I mean, like I expected Johnny Gargano to be up there. He's not been. Yeah, he had some great matches against Cole. He had that great match against Velveteen Dream, and he had a good match against Ricochet. But outside of that, is he really a wrestler of the year candidate?
No, and that's my point. Is that I think we thought after last year he was just going to keep moving up the ranks, and now this year he's been stagnant. Yeah.
And that's kind of the same thing with Velveteen Dream. He started the year on fire. We were all complaining about how he beat Gargano, but at the same time we're applauding him because it's like he deserves it. And then he's laid an egg ever since, and some of these promos he's done recently have really been disturbing.
Is there last year we had Tommaso Ciampa as being one of our top wrestlers of the year in NXT, right. And we had Gargano, I think, in that role, in that area as well. When I look at like my wrestlers of the year for this year, I can't see anybody in NXT that would qualify for that. I mean, Shayna Baszler, obviously, for the women's, but I don't see anybody anybody else in NXT. I suppose, maybe Matt Riddle would be the closest.
I would say Matt Riddle, and like I said, I literally just said his name, Roderick Strong. I thought had a great year, but not wrestler of the year. And same thing with Pete Dunne. I thought Pete Dunne had a fantastic year from start to finish. I mean, his match that started the year in NXT, was it Breckenridge or where was it? I can't remember. But against, Jesus, really, I can't think of his name.
Against Joe Coffey.
Was to start our year the match of the year.
Yeah.
And he had strong performances from there. He had that great performance against Walter. He had a great performance in between those two at one of the other UK takeovers. And then just watching the last 2 weeks on NXT has been phenomenal. He is just such a great performer that he's another guy that would be in my consideration, but once we get outside of NXT, there's so much better performers and so many better wrestlers that, yeah, Matt Riddle might be the only one in NXT that I'd even consider. It's funny that we say that because both you and I hated Matt Riddle in the beginning of the year.
We did, and it's weird because I didn't even think about wrapping NXT UK and NXT together, but that's really kind of what they've done lately.
Well, and they've thrown 205 in there too, so you got to look at Drew Gulak.
Yeah, so I mean Walter's a good suggestion, and so is Pete Dunne. But I mean, when I look at this, I'm like, and I think that probably, it's weird that you said that about Gargano, considering the fact that, coming into that Hell in a Cell match against, or that cage match, whatever the fuck they called it, against, or that, that three stages of Hell, right? But I mean, coming into that, that was probably, in the running for your feud of the year, you know.
No, not feud of the year. I don't know. I don't even know where to go with a feud of the year right now.
But I mean, you had really loved their first two matches against each other.
Yeah, I did. And that Three Stages of Hell had its moments, but ultimately was like every other Three Stages of Hell I've seen, just shit. There's no other way to put it. It was just shit. And if this one ever makes it to terrestrial radio, I'm going to be up all night editing it. But in all honesty, it was a shit match.
Right.
And that was hard for me to say because I love that that Takeover 25, and not just. And here my voice is going in and out again. But that Takeover 25, I thought was such a strong show, top to bottom, and I thought the cap was that Cole Gargano match, and I loved their 2 out of 3 falls match that happened after that. So it was hard to watch that Three Stages of Hell match. Wait, no, the 2 out of 3 falls was Takeover 25, wasn't it?
No, 2 out of 3 falls was the most recent Takeover. Was that Takeover 25?
I think so, because then they had a regular match.
No. Takeover 25 was the one that you loved. That was the one. So it was
That was the 2 out of 3.
No, it was Takeover Toronto 2.
All right. Regardless, I love both those matches, and then I absolutely despised that Three Stages of Hell match, and that kind of.
I got lost in what you were saying. Yeah, Takeover Toronto 2 is where the Three Stages of Hell match happened.
Okay, whatever the Three Stages of Hell match was, their third one.
Yes.
I loved the 2 out of 3 falls match. I loved the Takeover 25 match. You're right, it was Takeover 25 where Cole actually won the belt from Gargano.
Yeah.
The Three Stages of Hell match ruined that entire trilogy for me.
Yeah.
And that sucks because I loved both those matches, and those were 2 matches that might still be. And I mean, we're a couple months out, so who knows what's going to happen in the next 2 months. But it's a possibility they're still in my running for match of the year. But I have seen so much great stuff, and I cannot, in good faith, say that any of those 2 are my wrestlers of the year this year. As much as I love them the beginning of the year, even the middle of the year, at this point in the year, I'm looking at them going like, really, guys? You couldn't have done this a little better or that a little better?
Yeah, I mean, every year so far, like the last 3 years, and I'm sure it's even going back, there's a match that just stood out to me as being the match of the year. For 2 straight years, it was Okada versus Omega at Dominion, and now this year it's Cody versus Dustin at Double or Nothing. So,
I still have Gargano Cole at Takeover 25 as my top singles match of the year. Actually, you know what? It's one of my top. I have to give great consideration to what I just watched between El Phantasmo and Ospreay.
sure.
That was such a great match. Those 2 have such great chemistry. Everything about what I saw kind of spoke to me. So it's definitely my running. I'm not going to say that. I mean, I remember when we watched it at Double or Nothing, we're both like, oh yeah, it's match of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, I thought Gargano Cole was better, and that's just because of the way it spoke to me, not because it might have been Dave Meltzer's favorite or your favorite. It was just one of those things where it was like, okay, everything they're doing speaks to me.
Yeah.
And I felt that same way when I was watching that Phantasmo Ospreay match. There was just something about it, like literally, as much wrestling as I've watched throughout my life, there's very few times you're going to catch me on the edge of my seat. And I was on the edge of my seat for most of the match.
Yeah, see, and that's how I was with the three matches I just mentioned. Okada versus Omega in the in the 2 out of 3 falls match, and then this year with Cody versus Dustin. And the thing with Cody versus Dustin that's going to put it over the top for me, for with any other match, and unless another match has that same thing, is the overall presentation. Because that is crucial to me when I'm looking at the match, and when with the way with the way that Cody came out, the way Dustin came out, and then what happened after the match was over. The entire story that was told there is you know it puts something that together that to me is going to be almost unbeatable.
I'm so glad to finally hear you say that after 4 to 5 years of trying to get you to come to my side of thinking.
I've been saying that for a long time.
Well, maybe, but I haven't heard it. I mean, you were always like matches are one-offs, and what happens before. And I've been the one preaching that.
Oh, you're talking about the story. You're talking about the story coming in. I'm talking about like for instance, like
Not just the story coming in, but the story going out. The whole presentation, the months leading up to it to build that story, the match itself, is it a good payoff, and then what comes after? Do they? And that's one thing that Dusty um and or that Cody and Dustin have done is they've been able to take, and we've gone like a full 180 into a whole nother arc that is just phenomenal to see. And yeah, this year's going to be tough for match of the year. I'm not going to lie, it's really going to be tough.
well, I just want to point out that my match of the year in 2016 uh, was Seth Rollins challenging Roman Reigns for the World Championship at Money in the Bank, and a lot of that was because of the entire presentation as well. You know,
Yeah,
because that was a match where basically there was a double turn during the match, and then it switched back after the match was over, and then you have right after the match is over, you have Dean Ambrose coming in down to cash in on Seth Rollins. So all three members of the Shield were WWE champion in the same night. You know.
which was a great moment. I'm not going to say, Jesus, are we going to do the same format we had last year where we try to go for moments and all that stuff? I feel like it's weird. Maybe it's because we've stretched things out so much now. Where last year we were kind of like, okay, NJPW, yeah, um, maybe a little Impact, maybe a little MLW. We're not doing WWE, but NXT definitely. Where this year we're like, holy shit, we've got NWA, we've got Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, which has had some great moments. And I'm sorry to say, I'm addicted to it now. I literally have been watching it every night for the last month going to bed. I love that Impact app because I just turn on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and watch the stupid shit that they're doing with Peter Avalon and Tim Storm and everybody. Um, and Reno, is it Reno? No, what the hell's their name?
Reno Scum.
Reno Scum, yeah. And there's some great things going there, and I just feel like last year we picked all these award winners and everything. We devoted a whole 2-hour show to it, and we picked our winners. And this year's going to be a lot more difficult than last year was because this year we have so much that's out there to pick from.
Well, we even have time to do one of those shows this year.
I don't know if we will. I really don't.
I don't. I'd be surprised. You know.
It might be like a two or three episode show or something like that. I mean,
Yeah, we might have to stagger it out.
I got nothing going on Christmas Eve, so let's do it.
I'll get back to you on that.
That sounds good.
I can't even make plans for 2 days from now, dude. Jeez.
Good point. That's a very good point.
All right. So,
NWA Power. I do want to talk a little bit about that. I know last week when we talked about it, I was down, really down, and not down on it because I thought it was a bad show or a bad product. Down on it because I didn't know how well the nostalgia angle would work.
mhm. I think you said it was good for 1 week, and we'll have to see how it goes after that.
I this week they got a handle on it where they stopped promoting the nostalgia part and they started just presenting it as a pro wrestling show. I loved Colt Cabana. I loved his interaction with Ken Kennedy. I thought that was amazing. I love the fact that Aaron Stevens went back to his, what was he? Voice of the Masses? No. The hell was he when he was Damien Sandow?
I don't remember.
But he went back to that Damien Sandow character. And I loved it. I loved James Storm's interview. I loved the in-ring performances, especially from, what were they calling them? The New York Outlaws or the average the Kingston and Homicide against Midcard. Love that match.
Wild card.
Wild card, yeah.
Mid card.
I love the match between when Anderson and Cabana took on, those two jobbers from last week. I loved the interaction between James Storm and Eli Drake when both of them were playing both the face and the heel. I have very little to say that I didn't like about NWA Power this week. I felt like they nailed it from top to bottom.
Yeah, that's because they nailed it from top to bottom.
It was a great show. It was legitimately a great show.
Is it weird to you that Colt Cabana's there? Because I have no idea what's going on with him.
Well, we haven't watched Ring of Honor for so long, it's hard to tell. All I know is the last couple of shows, after he threw his little hissy fit against Ian Riccaboni, telling him that he's a hypocrite, he hasn't really been on the show.
He's been there, but I'm wondering if he's actually signed with NWA and not in Ring of Honor anymore, because that would be huge,
From the sound, well, he wants to be a wrestler, and Ring of Honor doesn't use him as a wrestler. They want to throw him in the commentary booth, so it makes sense. I mean, it was along the same lines as Savage when he jumped to WCW, wanted to be a wrestler. WWF wasn't going to let him. So he's like, well, to hell with you. I'm going somewhere else. And it makes sense. And I really do like that interview that he had where he introduced Kennedy as his partner. And he was mocking Kennedy while he was doing the introductions. I thought was one of the better interviews I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, it was really cool.
At least this year.
Cabana!
Yeah. So. That was just fun. And when both him and I can't remember the guys, the Joe Kelly, is that who it was? The interviewer?
Joe Galley.
When he did his Mr. Kennedy the second time, and they both kind of leaned back. It was just good TV. It was really, really good TV. And as much as I hated the nostalgia thing from last week, the fact that they didn't play up on it, they just kind of let it flow this week, I think made a huge, huge difference.
I think it's awesome that the running gag on the show is you forgetting the name of the announcer, and we have to tell you every single week.
I know Joe Kelly is the who's the other guy? Dave something.
No, it's Joe. It's Joe Galley for the third time.
No, Joe. One of them is a Joe. The other one is a Dave. That's all. And how long did it take them to get Ian Riccaboni's name? And I love that too.
I know. I'm just having fun and laughing at you.
The other thing I wish would happen, and I noticed this during last couple of NJPW shows, either Don Callis or Excalibur needs to get a break to go and do commentary alongside Kevin Kelly, because I do not like this Chima guy or Cima guy or whoever he is.
The guy commenting with Kevin Kelly?
Right now, yeah, the Australian guy.
Gino Gambino.
I don't like him.
Why?
I don't know. I just don't like him. He's trying too hard to be Don Callis.
Well, when you watch later in the show, you'll see that he was replaced by our boy Rocky Romero. So.
Okay, all right. As much as I hate Rocky Romero, I like that better.
Since when do you hate Rocky Romero?
It was a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago. He did just a horrible job on a show, and I kind of wanted Chucky T to be the announcer, but he had to, go to AEW and all that crap.
Yeah, my friends, Jeff is the poster child for commentary. What have you done for me lately?
Exactly. I don't care, what have you done for me lately? Yeah, it's got to be commentary because wrestling, I'll still look at you what you did 15 years ago and think you're great. Which is why I still like what Aaron Is his name Aaron Stevens?
I don't remember. It sounds right though.
It's Aaron something. And he was great as that guy who was the voice of the masses.
In Impact or in WWE?
WWE.
Okay. Damian Sandow.
He was terrible in Impact.
So what are you trying to say?
I don't.
Okay.
I lost consciousness half hour ago.
Cool. You were supposed to keep me on the rails, not the other way around.
Are either of us on the rails tonight?
No, but I told you were supposed to keep me on the rails.
I kept you on the rails.
Alright.
You know how? Because you had to keep me on the rails. I kept you there.
Bastard.
See, I know what I was doing.
First time for everything.
I don't want to work tomorrow. Can I just stay home?
No, if I have to go to work, you have to go to work.
No, it's not fair.
And you know what? And I have to go to work because I've got a training class.
But I'm the breadwinner in this family.
I'm not in your goddamn family.
Shit. I was hoping.
Shit, he figured it out.
Alright. Guys, check us out. Patreon. www.patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor. Got a couple new things coming on. We're not... Because we're dipping double duty now with the KOH and the DAD, Diamond After Dark on Wednesdays, we're not having as much time to do our upper echelon shows as we used to. That we might be having to scale that back a little bit just due to time constraints and things. But our Patreon is that's our baby. Go there, patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor if you want to donate to us. You get some great stuff by doing so. A lot of great content. We do pump out a lot of it, and we try our best. And we'll never charge you more than $10 a month. And for that $10 a month, you actually do get a lot of great content. Also, YouTube. Go over there, Kingdom of Honor. Just youtube.com/Kingdom of Honor brings you to our page. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. You hit any like buttons on any videos we do and ring the notification bell so you can get anything that we put out. All of our weekly shows are the two that we do every single week. And anytime Shane and I are bored and have something to say, we throw up a video just to kind of let you know what's going on, 10, 15, 20-minute video, whatever. Make sure you like it, subscribe it, and hit that notification bell. Also, iTunes, iHeartRadio. Pretty much anywhere you want to listen to podcasts, give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us out. And Facebook, of course, to keep up on, well, I guess Facebook stuff, because you can get it everywhere else, too. Just saying. Sorry, I don't know what else to say. Facebook was our baby when we started, and it's kind of gone by the wayside lately. But you can also get us on Twitter. Look me up. I'm at Rigi Co-op. I do everything. Football, music, wrestling. A lot of football right now because it's football season. He is at ZanmanLOP. You can get both of us just by using 2 hashtags. One, hashtag KOH for Kingdom of Honor. Everything I put up has that hashtag in it, whether it's football or anything. Because if you go to our Patreon, you get all of it. Also use hashtag DAD, as in dad. For Dynamite After Dark, use those 2 hashtags. You'll find both of us, and we both, every now and then, throw up just some weird shit. We also throw up some wrestling stuff, too, so it's a good way to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's all we've got. We'll try to do better next time. Make sure you stay tuned to LOP Radio for all the other radio goodness out there. Tomorrow should be sports entertainment. I'm sorry. There's nothing tomorrow on Tuesday, unfortunately, because I just saw a tweet that the Global Revolution is not going to be able to make it show for tomorrow. But on Wednesday, we'll be back. We'll be here with you for your live reaction show right after Dynamite goes off the air. Plus, Sports Entertainment is Dead with Plan and Maverick. On Thursday, IMP's LOP Radio Adventure on Friday is the right side of the pond, and then we will be back with you next week, hopefully to talk about Impact if we both get a chance to get it in. So.
We'll get it in. I got a kid-free week this week.
Jeff has promised we will get it in.
Jeff has said there's a more than good chance that we'll get it in.
There's a 33% chance we will get it in.
Dude, I'm a little more like 15%.
There's a 3% chance we will get it in. And that's all we've got. We'll try to do better next time.
What? No long days, pleasant nights? You son of a bitch?
Long days, pleasant nights, you son of a bitch.
Jeff saying goodbye.
G1 Climax 27. Goodbye and good night.